And I think one of the things I enjoy most about doing Men in Kilts, and I'm not sure if this is apparent when you watch it, but it was completely unscripted. So nothing you see in terms of what we say was planned in advance. We had the guests lined up. We knew who we were going to see. We knew where we were going to go and when we were going there, but that's all we knew. And so everything else, all the banter in the van, all the banter with the guests, what the guests were telling us was, in many cases, a complete surprise and was happening in real time. So it contributed, hopefully, to a feeling of real spontaneity, and something that was very organic. And that's really what we were going for with the show. So hopefully that's what comes across.
Hi, and I'm on now with the one and only Mr. Graham McTavish, and I am so happy to see you. And I know that all of our viewers are as well. Hi.
Hello, delighted to be here. Yes, it's I'm speaking to you from a slightly rainy London, so I apologize for the rather dull lighting where I am.
It's quite all right, and it's just really lovely to see you and have you come on. And I know that you are a fan favorite on so many different levels, not just with Outlander, but now the Men in Kilts, and the large body of work that you have done over the years. I mean, there's so many things you've done. You're so talented.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you. Thank you.
I don't even know where to begin, but maybe let's begin with something I picked up recently that I'm so excited to read through, is your book. That you
yes.
Yeah. And Clanlands. Yeah. What do you want to tell us about that, and what can you...
Well, I mean, I wanted to write a book for, since I was a child. I used to write when I was, I started when I was about 10, 11, and I wrote a sort of short book with the wonderfully titled Island of Death, which, I was 10. So, and then I wrote a couple of more books, but I didn't even try to get them published. But that's what I wanted to be before I was ever thinking about becoming an actor. And so when I got the opportunity to write this, which really, the book kind of covers the journey that Sam and I went on first. So there were 2 road trips that we did. We did one in 2019 and then one in 2020. And the one in 2020 is what constitutes the majority of Men in Kilts. The 2019 trip is what constitutes the majority of Clanlands. And there's overlaps with both. But I guess the difference with Clanlands is that it's a kind of a conversation between me and Sam, and we go off on tangents to talk about our own lives, our own careers, our own personal stories, anecdotes, and then we sort of, for want of a better word, argue about our sort of differing perspectives on the same event, of which there were many while we were filming. And it was such fun to do. We wrote it during lockdown. I was in New Zealand and he was in Scotland, and we would have a Google document, and we would just share it. And I would be writing, and then he would be writing, and he would see something that I'd written, and he would say, "Well, no, that's not what happened," and he'd write something. And so that's how it evolved. And it's been an absolute joy doing it. Really has. Oh. Excuse me, that seems to be the doorbell. I do apologize. My friend is going down to get the doorbell. This is what happens in London. People just start ringing on your door for no reason.
It's okay.
This is what happens with live. It's live TV. This is what happens. This reminds me of when I used to do theatre. When I would, you'd be in the middle of doing a performance, and on one occasion somebody had a projectile vomiting. That happened. Somebody had an epileptic fit. Not all in the same performance, I hasten to add. There was a heart attack. All sorts of things. People shouting from the audience. It's live TV. live theatre you could.
Reality TV is a huge thing nowadays, and this is why, because it makes it so much more
Exactly. Exactly. So yes, we were talking. So Clownlands, yeah, it was great. It was really great.
And honestly, the banter between the two of you is really fun. It's fun to read and both watch. And I loved the bit when you're learning how to do the Highland dancing and you're doing the sword dancing. And I saw that clip and I thought, in the old days, that the men would do the sword dance the night before the battle. And if, God forbid, the dancer kicked that sword like you did, off with his head. He would lose his head for that.
Yeah, it didn't end well. No, it wouldn't have ended well. I mean, I have a newfound profound respect for people who do Highland dancing. I've always enjoyed watching it. But that young lady made it look so easy. And as you could see from my attempts, it isn't. No.
Made an honest effort, but I think, and luckily it's not 400 years ago, the night before a battle.
Yeah, fortunately. Yeah.
And talking about, battles and things like that, I so do enjoy the Clanlands and the Men In Kilts and talking about the bloody Highlands and kind of poking fun and making fun of it. And, when I was trying to give forth some information about my own McIntosh clan and things like that, I found out terrible things that my clan had done to other clans that I never even knew about.
Yeah. The Scotland, the more I research it, the more I write about it, the history of violence in Scotland is truly breathtaking. They really, I often imagine, some clansman sitting at home, he probably only managed to sit down for a few minutes before he was asked out again to go and, kill another group of Highlanders in the next glen. They were constantly fighting. And at every time of the year. I mean, there were huge battles in Scotland in January. I mean, I'm sure that any of your colleagues and friends from the Highlands and Islands would tell you that January in Scotland, you don't really want to be out and about too much. There's barely any light. I mean, it gets dark at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you've got a window of about maybe 7 hours in the entire day when you could fight this battle. And they did. It's like, don't they even take like the winter off? It's like, yeah, we're just going to relax by the fire during the winter. No, let's go and fight a battle. What are you doing on Saturday? Just extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And but the serious side of it is that the tradition of fighting in Scotland is what helped make the Scottish soldier such an important part of the British Army post-Culloden. So post-1746, you could persuasively argue that the British Empire was founded by the Scots. In terms of who actually went and did the fighting, it was often the Highland regiments that were sent in first. And this went right through. I was talking to Peter Jackson in New Zealand, and he'd done a First World War documentary called "They Shall Not Grow Old," and he was telling me that in the trenches, the Germans they would rotate. The Germans and the Allies would rotate out every couple of weeks. So you'd be in the front line, you'd fight, and then 2 weeks later you'd be replaced by a different regiment, so you could have some rest and relaxation behind the lines. And if there was a regiment, say from Saxony in the German trenches, they would let the Allies know who was coming in 2 weeks' time, which regiment. And if it was a Prussian regiment, they would tell the British, listen, word of warning, the Prussians are coming in a week, just to let you know, because they're really hardcore. And you just don't want to mess with the Prussians, right? So the word would go back from the Allies to the high command through the chain of command, And the High Command would then bring in the Highland Regiment to face the Prussians because they were equally violent, I suppose is the way to describe it. So they would just bring in the toughest people that they could find to face that particular German regiment. So it's still the case today.
I understand. And D-Day even.
Yeah, sure.
And the pipers were still involved. I mean, the pipers were still piping and directing the troops with whatever tune they were playing and standing next to Lord. Dwalin was the D-Day piper standing next to Lord Lovat. It was very interesting and fascinating. But yeah, you know, there is a bloodbath. But I like how you guys kind of wrote it in a way that makes it a little more palpable in terms of a little humor. I mean, it was so long ago after all. I mean, I think, you know, and it's very embarrassing to say that, you know, the Macintoshes feuded with the Camerons, for instance, and went and decided that it was okay, like nothing was off limits. It was okay for them to go to a church on Sunday where the Camerons held their services and go inside the church because they would be unarmed and literally slaughter every male Cameron in the church. I mean, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I was reading recently about a battle called the Battle of the Champions that happened on a beach in the far north of Scotland between the Keith clan and the Gun clan. And it was, and this, by the way, is a feud between that clan, those two clans, that was not finally resolved until 1978. 1978. Right? It gives you, these people have a long memory. So it was decided that they were going to settle this particular feud on the beach, and they were allowed 12 in each clan to fight it out. So each clan arrived on horseback, 12 horses, right, to fight. However, I think the Gun clan put 2 men on each horse. 2 men on each horse. So one side had 12 and the other side had 24. So guess who won? But you just think, it's incredible. So yeah. I mean, and then the fact that George R.R. Martin based a great many of his Game of Thrones stories and plot lines on Scottish history, the feudal violence that went on in Scotland. So yeah, it gives you an idea of the kind of people you were dealing with.
Yeah, it's incredible. So after shooting, was it the first season and then second season of Men in Kilts, or was it Clanlands first and then Men in Kilts? And where's that?
Yeah, we shot. What we did basically was when we first went out, Sam and I, in 2019 in the camper van, we shot our own stuff because we wanted to assemble something together to persuade a network to actually make a TV series with us. And so we shot it over a period of 3 weekends, and we probably assembled together maybe half an hour's worth of material, and we put that into like a 20-minute teaser that we showed to Stars and Sony. And luckily enough, they seemed to think that it was something worth investing in. So so far we've only done 1 season of Men in Kilts. Hopefully there will be more. And so far we have only done 1 book, and hopefully there will be more of those.
There's so many stories to tell about so many different clans. And
yeah.
Do you have a favorite that comes to mind, a story?
Do you know what? Honestly, there's so many. There's so many. I mean, I do really quite enjoy the one. Now, I think this was, let me get this right. I think it was the Macintoshes and the Camerons, actually, the Battle of North Inch.
Perth.
Yeah, in Perth. And the then king, who I think was just so sick and tired of these clans fighting, that he decided to have it settled in a pitched battle, and decided that there would be 30 from each clan that would arrive in a purpose-built arena to actually have this battle. So they built seating, you know, and the king had a special box, and on one side there was the river Tay, that acted as a natural barrier. And then you had the two sides, 30 each, and they would just literally fight until either one side was completely dead or they gave up. And that was how it was going to be resolved. Only one problem. One team arrived with one man short. You know, I mean, you can just picture it, can't you?
Yeah.
Right, come on, right, we're ready. Let's go. What do you mean? What time didn't turn up? What? So they're down one man. So they go into the local pub, basically, and ask if anybody would be willing to make up the numbers on the other team. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. And I think it was the local blacksmith, Henry Wind, I think his name was. Obviously in the middle of enjoying a nice drink with his friends, just thought, hey, why not? Let's go out there, have a stramash. And gets up, goes outside, makes up the numbers, off they go, 30 men each. Sir Walter Scott talks about it. Mass battle. They actually have a half time. They have a break. I mean, can you imagine? They're just sitting around, cleaning the blood off the axes and going, how's it going out there? Oh, it's tough. Hey, yeah. And then they go back and finish it off. But I think by the end, there were 11 people left alive, 10 on one side, 1 on the other. And the one survivor of one side just jumped into the river to escape. And one of the survivors was indeed Henry Wind, the blacksmith.
And it was
was it the Macintoshes that won?
Won and had Henry on their side, and it was the Camerons that there was one guy left, and he swam across the river, never to be seen again.
Yeah, I mean, those things you can't make them up. They're just too extraordinary and vivid. And that, is definitely one of my favorites.
And you know why the gentleman didn't show up? Do you remember why the one?
No, actually, I don't know why.
I don't
know why.
It was rumored that he spent the night with a young lady he had met in the village the night before and didn't show up because he had been up all night with this young lady.
Entirely possible. Yes.
Thank you for
that's a good detail.
But it's great fun, and I hope that everyone here watching gets the book. And where can people order the book and buy the book?
Oh gosh, you can get it almost anywhere. It's in America, it's like Barnes and Noble, there's Amazon, all those sort of just regular bookstores have it. It's currently available in America, Canada, Brazil, Spain, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Australia, Hungary. There's, I think it's Germany, the Netherlands, and I think Scandinavia. Okay. Yeah. Oh yes, and all of South America and Spain. Yes.
A fantastic, great fun read. So everybody should read it and watch Men in Kilts if you have.
Please do.
It's really fun to watch and see you guys travel around. And like I said, the banter between you and Sam is really fun. I'm
glad you enjoyed it. It was fun to do. It was great fun to do. And I think one of the things I enjoyed most about doing Men in Kilts, and I'm not sure if this is apparent when you watch it, but it was completely unscripted. So nothing you see in terms of what we say was planned in advance. We had the guests lined up. We knew who we were going to see. We knew where we were going to go and when we were going there, but that's all we knew. And so everything else, all the banter in the van, all the banter with the guests, what the guests were telling us was, in many cases, a complete surprise and was happening in real time. So it contributed, hopefully, to a feeling of real spontaneity. and something that was very organic. And that's really what we were going for with the show. So hopefully that's what comes across.
I think so, absolutely. And I think it's great fun, and you can see the relationship between the two of you, and it's a fun watch. And also, you know, I have to bring up Outlander. You're probably tired of talking about Outlander.
No, not at all.
But
No.
you're such a great character. And I just, as you know, recently went back and rewatched, and it was so fun. I think perhaps one of my most favorite scenes of yours was when Dougal Mackenzie's wife dies, and you're throwing a fit in the castle, and it's like this fake uproar because you're really in love with Galis Duncan, and she's pregnant with your child, but you're throwing this drunken fit, and you're in this drunken rage, and it was really fun to watch that. I don't know why.
No, it's fun to do. It's interesting. The thing about Dougal, I think, and certainly the way I played it, for me, is that the death of his wife, who obviously he's become estranged from, one way or another. I mean, we never meet her; she's not around. But I think, and you're right, you know, he's having this affair with Geras, and she's pregnant. Is the terrible guilt that he feels, and the shame that he feels, and that's partly, I think, what motivates the drunken rage, the drunken sort of fit that he has. That he's full of, at that moment, self-loathing, really, and it's a bit similar to later in I guess season 2, when he's at his brother's bedside when he's dying, and he's wanting to tell him how he really feels about him, and those things that we always leave too late to say to people that we love, and all the arguments that we've had in our lives with them, and all the things that we regret. And he wants to say it at that moment. He wants to really convey it, and it's too late. It's too late. He dies. He dies before he can hear what Dougal wants to say. And so I've always felt that Dougal is a very complicated person. He does really good things, great things, but he also does some pretty terrible things. But he's flawed. He's a flawed man, and it certainly makes him interesting to play, and hopefully for people to watch. But that scene was the one you described, was just fantastic. But I was just given free rein, really, in that scene. So the director just said, listen, all I need you to do is just destroy the set, really, with your sword, and just do what comes naturally. So I was lucky enough to be interacting with some great stuntmen who were able to, so none of that fighting was choreographed. So they were just responding in real time to what I was doing. So it kept it very real. And I was also lucky enough to be doing my dialogue principally in that scene with Stephen Walters, who played Angus. And Stephen's a great sort of improvisational performer. And so he was able to, we were both able to have a very real moment together in that scene when he comes to give me the drink. So a lot of it was off script, and I think that helped contribute to the sense of kind of anarchy and chaos and what's he going to do next. And so yeah, it was great fun.
It looked like it was a lot of fun, and you're brilliant to be able to go in there and do that unscripted. That was, and not injure people. Let's just
nobody died in the making of that scene, I'm glad to say. Yes, some candles suffered. Yeah, but that was it, really.
You came back very recently to Outlander to play yours and Gaelus's son.
Yes.
And you
have my own bastard son. I know. It's extraordinary.
Is that going to continue? Everybody always asks if.
I don't know. The love to tell the actors in this situation. I know from fans of the books that Buck Mackenzie reappears, I think, in book 7 and book 8, and he comes in quite a lot. So that, well, they're currently filming season 6, further down the line. But listen, I owe Outlander a lot. I had a really wonderful experience doing it. I made some great friends who continue to be a part of my life. I've been on holiday now, both with Sam and with Duncan. And I can't say that about many jobs, really. And it was a really great family atmosphere when we made, especially those first 2 seasons when it was the Highlanders together. We all started together. And so there was a real sense of a bond between the actors involved, including Katrina, of course. And it was just a joy. So anytime they want me back, I'll be happy to do it.
Well, I certainly hope that they do have you back, and it will be interesting to watch that character. That seems like a very dark character. And I love the story too, when they brought you back kind of under secrecy, and your nickname was?
Yes, Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers, unbelievable.
No one would have.
God. I tried to check into the hotel, and I gave them my name, and they said, we don't have anybody by that name booked. And I was like, oh, well, I'm supposed to be staying here. And they said, oh no. And then I said, you don't have anybody called Buck Rogers booked in, do you? And they went, oh yes, Mr. Rogers. Yes, we're expecting you. So I was checked in as Buck Rogers. Yeah, I kept having to explain to people that was not my name. It was quite funny. Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Oh, well.
And so now you're in London, and you're going to start a new project. And I know that it's kind of a difficult time to talk about new projects. Is there anything you want to share with the viewers? Or
well, I mean, I can share the fact that because it's been announced that I'm in the next season of The Witcher, which is on Netflix. So that's out in the public domain. But the current project that I'm working on, I can't speak about. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating because I want to tell everybody about these things, but it's hopefully the announcement of that will be coming soon, and then I can talk about it. But it's great fun. I'm very excited to be doing it, and it'll be an interesting storyline. Yes.
Can't wait to see more about that. So people need to follow you on your social media so that they can see when you're able to talk about what you're doing. And how do you on your social media?
Well, it's quite easy. It's just Graham McTavish, all one word, on both Instagram and Twitter. And the only thing that I would say is, sadly, I know that there are a lot of people who pretend to be people on social media. And I know that because I hear it from other people that people have been contacted by people pretending to be me. And so it's the key with social media, certainly in my case, is that you have a blue tick next to your name, which means that it's been verified by that social media as being the real person. So if it doesn't have a blue tick next, it's not me. But if it does, then yeah.
What a terrible
Graham McTavish.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's a terrible thing that people would do that to you and to other people. I know that that's the case. So.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's the world, but yeah.
We have a lot of students watching, from students of theater from Scotland on here today. And do you have any, it's been kind of it's been a year for a lot of people, and it must be
Mm,
for a lot of young people frustrating and a little challenging to have gone through
mm,
this whole pandemic.
mm.
Have anything, words of wisdom or encouragement, inspiration to say to the students watching?
Well, I mean, certainly anybody involved in theatre, I mean, that's where I started out, and I still love theatre. I haven't done any for quite a number of years now, which, you know, I'm sad about. I would to do more, but I did 90% of my theatre in Scotland. Every theatre really there is in Scotland I performed at, and that's where I learned anything I craft, for want of a better word, was through doing that. And I was lucky enough to work with some great directors and actors. But you know, the thing about acting is that you need to be doing it. You need to be doing it. And in my case, I started out doing it in fringe theatre. I did a one-man play to get my equity card, and I wrote a play to just be out there. And my only advice to people is to try and keep up your practice, I suppose, for want of a better word for it. And my heart goes out to people in theatre at the moment. I think it's terrible that theatres are closed, to be honest. I personally find it very difficult to reconcile why that is the case now. People need to be with people, and theatre, not just stage theatre, but ballet, concerts, anything like that. It's a very important part of being human, and I really look forward to playing again, because I think without them, even if you're not somebody who goes to the theatre a lot, the lack of that in your society, I think it impoverishes everybody. So I really hope that those buildings are filled soon with audiences and with performers, because that's how it should be.
Yes, and hopefully one day, if it ever works out with your schedule and with ScotWeek in person in LA, hopefully we can have you come and do, if you're willing and able, a version of Macbeth. That would be brilliant.
Yes.
I think
Yes, I'd love to. Yes,
but
I
for
would.
now,
Macbeth.
isn't that amazing? It's so amazing that Shakespeare is so, he was such a prolific and writer and an amazing talent, and that we would still be performing his plays all these centuries later and cherish them and love them.
Yes, I think he'd be. Yeah, I think he'd find it quite amusing, actually. I think he would. Yes, I reckon.
But for now,
I know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, but we were gifted. We were very fortunate. We were gifted from Shakespeare's Globe, their 2013 production of Macbeth. So for now, later this evening, we will be screening that here. And so hopefully all of you will stay tuned to watch that. And then also one day, come and watch Graham McTavish on the stage in Los Angeles performing Macbeth with ScotWeek. That would be fantastic. And we are so grateful and honored to have you be part of ScotWeek. Graham, thank you.
It's a pleasure. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all of your time. All the very best to you. And we will follow you and follow your work and what you're doing. And it will be great fun to see what you do next.
I know. Who knows? But we'll see. All right. Well, thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Goodbye for now. Thanks.
Bye. Bye-bye.